Hey, hi. Let's talk through another question. So first we talked about the sharing. Now let's talk about the what is lookup filter and what is the scenario. Suppose I have a scenario wherein now I have these records on service request. I have two fields which are lookup with the contact. Okay. Now if you see here, this driver and the other is mechanic. So this driver is lookup with contact. Mechanic also is a lookup with a contact. Now I want to set this field in such a way that when I look up here, I will I will not be able to see the drivers. I should not be able to access the drivers. Whereas if I want to access the mechanics, I should be able to access them. Right. So how can I achieve this kind of feature where the lookup is with the same object, but I want to restrict certain data basis some conditions. So that can be achieved through lookup filter, right? Simply you need to go to that object and check on that lookup filter how we can achieve that. Okay, so if I go here and fields and I'll check my lookup field, right? So here what I have done is there is an option to set the lookup filter. So here you can select that filter criteria, whatever criteria you want you can add it here. Even you can add the multiple conditions as well between those. Suppose if you want to put multiple values, and then here you can select filter logic whether 1 and 2 or 1 or 2, 1 and 2 or 3, like that you can put those things, right? You can go through these tips. Okay, now let's move to the next question. Sharing in the context of parent child. Can we create a sharing rule on child? Can we create report on child history object? So sharing in the context of parent child meaning, if you go again back to the sharing settings, right, where we have talked about the OWD and other accesses. Now, if you see here, it says control by parent. So, in case of master detail, the access is controlled by the parent. So, in that case, you cannot create sharing rule on the child. You have to create it on the master, and via master, the access is controlled. Okay, so remember that thing. Now, talking about the other thing is, can we create a report? So this you can try, right? Enable the history tracking on your child as well as master. Create some record in master and child. Update those record for those fields where you enable history tracking. And from reports, try to create a report on this history object and check whether that child history object is available or only parent history object is available. Okay. Now suppose there is a user, okay, in production, and he is saying I am not able to access particular record. Now in that case, how you will debug where you can check the user has access or not, right? So in case of history, you can check it via history objects. So what was the previous value and next value? But if the user claims I do not have access to the record itself, then how you can check? So remember one thing, if you have a sharing rule or sharing enabled, if the OWD is set to private, right, in that case it always creates a share object. So for every object it creates a share object, history object, but depends on the settings, right? So if you have history tracking enabled, it will have history object. If you have the sharing, then it will have share object. So if I say I want to check on my custom object, say cd goal. If you see here, it has share object, it has a history object. So if I go to share object, you will see record id is always with the parent id. User or the group id is the access of user or the group who has access to that particular record. So you can go here and debug whatever record that user is saying he doesn't have access to. You can check if other user is getting access, get that record id, or you can check with the system admin profile, get that record id, and sorry, simply check here by querying whether that user is having access or not. access level, just query, and you here you should be able to check, okay, for so and so record, which groups or which users has access and what level of access they have. Okay, that kind of things you can check. If user says, okay, I'm not able to edit, we can come here and check whether he has a read access or all access, right? And based on that you can comment, boss, you are not getting this access, so let me check whether you are part of that public group or you got removed from the public group, or whether that sharing rule is got removed by some other deployment or some other developer has made some changes. All these things you can debug, right? But first thing you can check here whether he has access or no, so that way it will help. Now let's check, what do you mean by soft delete? Okay, so we already covered this, right? Soft delete means not exactly deleting the record but setting some flag. So if I say these records are deleted, those are not actually deleted from the database, we are just updating this field value as a yes. And then we have a sharing rule where we say if it is no, then only give access. So those records will not be accessible for these users. For system admin, we can give view all access or modify all access, so they will be able to see all those records. Now the other thing is create list view button to open flow and open close. And on flow close you have to go back to, okay, so this is for you to practice. We know the list view buttons, right? So if you create a list view button here, and say this is my list view, or if I say this is my list view, and here there is something, some button I'm calling this. On click of this, I am entering into the flow. But if I say there is some button and on click of this button I want to go back to this list view back, so how I can do that? How I can call my flow? So I have just, I'll just show you, like, okay, this is service request. If I go to this flow, call my flow, so if I go here and flows, so here simply, okay, whatever flow is, so here some flow is there, I can just go and say edit or view and edit versions. So here I will be able to access the link of this flow. So this is the flow link, so this flow link you can use on that list button, and then that list button will open your flow. Okay, that's how you can use flow here. Now I want you to explore when the user enters in the flow, right? Suppose I selected something and I entered into the flow, then I should have a, say, finish button or some button. On click of that button, I want this flow to be closed and I want to go back to the list view of this record or of this object. Okay, now let's talk through another point. Okay, user is not able to see the record type during QA testing. What could be the reason? So you must be aware of record type, right? Why we use record type is like, with the record type we can control the pick list options, right? With the record type we can have different page layout assigned to different profiles. Okay, so if the user logs in, he will see another different page layout. Even with the record type we can assign that to a different page layout. Basis the record type selected, user will be able to see different fields like this. Suppose if I go here, if I say new, I have these two record types. So for service, if he goes, he will see this request detail, car drop detail, service request information, right? And if I again click on this and select repair, you will see another set of information: insurance detail, request detail, car pickup, car drop, service detail, right? Some additional sections or some fields here and there I can control with the help of record type. Now what user is saying, I am clicking on new but I am not able to see this repair record type. So what could be the reason? So remember one thing, for record type we have to give access via profile. In profile we have to specify, okay, this profile, if the user has this profile, he will have access to these record types. And again, when you create a record type, you can set record type as active, inactive. So those are the two places you need to debug what is wrong, why that user is not able to access the record type. Okay. And one more additional advantage of record type is, if you go here or particular record, right, here you are seeing the number of buttons, right? So if you want for, so this is a service record type. For other record type called repair, I don't want this mark as completed button, right? So this button you cannot hide show. But if you use another page layout with respect to that record type, there you can control. So with different page layout you can remove this simply. So if I go to page layout, let me go to the object. Right here, if I have a page layout, I can say for service this is my page layout, for repair this is my page layout. So I can go to repair page layout and I can simply remove those buttons. I have that liberty, I have that access. I can remove those buttons whichever I don't want to show. Correct? So this is how there are multiple usages of record type. Okay. So this also we covered, I think. Rest of the things we'll see in the another session. Okay. Thank you.